Hello and welcome to the ultimate webinar on Operation Excellence with SAP Signavio. My name is Johannes Strasser. I'm the global lead of SAP Signavio here at Westernacher Consulting. And a huge thank you for tuning in today. We have a massive crowd. We have customers from 3 different time zones, various industries, and nothing without special guests. Live from London, Cliff Pennycate, Senior Value Advisor at SAP, and I'm actually so pumped that I can have this exchange with Cliff and also you in this webinar all about operational excellence. And I'm about to share my screen. It shall work actually. Perfect. And we have actually 45 minutes ahead of us. This webinar will be recorded and afterwards publicly accessible in case you can't make the entire 45 minutes. I understand here in Austria, where I'm based, in general Germany, we have lunch break right now. Huge pleasure to have you enjoying your lunch break. So, Cliff Pennycate, and a highly appreciated colleague from SAP. We had already touched points several times as we are working on various customer engagements in the UK. And my humble self, Johannes Strasser, responsible for Signavio initiatives here at Westernacher Consulting. So today, it's all about operational excellence. And what is operational excellence actually about? So we defined this term, and you might know it, but you know that we have a common baseline of understanding. Operational excellence is about continuous improvement across all lines of business, be it finance, sales, procurement, etc. Ultimately, we want to have smooth supply chains, smooth cycle times, so that we can ultimately increase customer satisfaction to ultimately stay competitive in the long run. What does it mean in the SAP context? To think of, we have so many different lines of businesses. As I said, finance already, procurement, sales, all the way to supply chain, product innovation. It can become overwhelming, and depending if you are on your SAP S/4HANA journey or not, it's oftentimes a question of where to start. So Signavio gives already a nice baseline to identify which actions you can take immediately and which ones you can transform on the go. And for this, we often can relate to best practice content, for instance. If you think of finance processes, they are highly suitable for commodity flows. If you think of a year-end closing, as we are in the beginning of the year, now we often see the yearly results. The procedures often look the same. And SAP has a huge pool of best practices that we can leverage depending on your industry where you're in, no matter if it's chemicals, automotive, consumer goods, etc. And if we think of operational excellence, best case, we don't have silos. Best case, it all interplays together. And when we think of such a transformation initiative, traditionally, we come with a huge peak of promise up front. We have huge expectations with a huge, so-called a hype cycle. And over time, oftentimes we don't get the results that we aim for. Combined with poor change management, we end up being frustrated. And it's exactly where SAP Signavio comes into play, where we, at the very beginning, based on system scans and process mining capabilities, based on Signavio process insights and process intelligence, we can discover actionable potential upfront, derive action steps that are achievable, that are smart, and go all the way organically towards achieving them, based on S/4HANA capability leveraging, or intelligent technologies. If you think of machine learning capabilities or embedded AI, as it's now the case, especially if you're on S/4HANA Cloud. So in short, SAP Signavio helps you to transform your operational excellence journey. no matter if it's a business transformation with an S/4HANA transformation or without, like standalone in your process environment, because ultimately your business is running on processes, the most vital aspect in our eyes. A short look on the agenda. We had already a short introduction. I will hand over quickly to Cliff, who is providing you a general overview about the new approach called SAP Signavio Plug and Gain, where we also emphasize on the benefits of this approach. And later on, I have the honor to present you some starter packs and how to get started, because you might ask yourself, okay, how to get started on this one? And we will also have some time for Q&A. So please free to use the chat function. Feel free to subscribe your questions. I'm happy to answer them together with Cliff later on. Cliff, over to you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Joe. Let me then present my slides for you all.
Make your presenter. Perfect.
Thank you very much. So, right. So, hello everyone, and thanks to Joe for the intro. Look, a warm-hearted welcome from me as well, everyone. Look, I'm really excited and also really happy to be here today, and basically to be able to present to you about how SAP Signavio can help accelerate your SAP ERP transformation, how it can ultimately help improve your operational excellence within your business. And I'll take you through some slides, and I'm also going to show you some of the solution as well to try and bring some of the concepts to life for you, because I'm always a big fan of seeing things to make it more tangible. So thanks for tuning in. My name's Cliff Pennycate. As Joe had already mentioned, I'm a senior advisor at SAP Signavio. I'm based here in the UK, but do travel for my work. And just as a way of background, I've been working in the SAP ecosystem now for well over 25 years. On various SAP projects, helping customers transform, and that's what I really love to do. Work with customers like yourselves to see how we can make things faster, reduce risk with the types of solutions we have. And with SAP Signavio, we can do that. And super excited to be here to present it to you. So let's get going then in terms of the starting point. I think if we just take a step back, let's have a think about and remind ourselves about something, I guess, really important. And I'm thinking there are probably quite a few of you who are either business or IT representatives on this webinar today. Some of you may, as Joe had already alluded to earlier, maybe you've already gone to S/4HANA, but maybe some of you are still in the planning stage, or maybe some of you are part way there. But in any case, I think wherever you are on that journey, S/4HANA transformations really can be successful when you think of them more as a business transformation and try to get the maximum out of your transformation to S4. So when we speak of that transformation, we always mean that the business is ultimately going to change the way it's operating today. Yeah, that's what we talk about transformation. In other words, processes are going to change. And a change in these processes is then often empowered by that new technology that's made available to us. So if you change your business, you change the technology that empowers your business, ultimately you change the way your company operates, and for the better. And therefore, a business transformation is ultimately a process-driven transformation. And of course, the story doesn't end there. We often talk about, well, organizations then need that ability and agility to constantly and successfully adapt to changing business needs, because the world doesn't stand still, and you all know that as well. So even though your SAP, maybe your S/4HANA project is successful, it's not really the end of the journey. It's actually the beginning often, and it's an ongoing and continuous improvement. And we'll come on to that later as well about how SAP Signavio can help with that context. But let's now talk about how to transform businesses and what are the main challenges of this journey. So at SAP, we know a lot about transformations because we've listened to hundreds of customers in recent years, and we often hear the same sort of uncertainties. The transformation journey seems to be costly, it's resource intensive is one of the things which is often said. S4 transformations are often IT driven. Getting the business excited, can be a challenge. And then often there's the perception that it can take months or even years to implement SAP products is often a thing which people hear as well. And then I think often another challenge is, once you're live on S4HANA, the focus on that continuous value realization, actually, to be fair, often gets lost. And I guess then to make things even more complicated, if that's a good word for it, many decision makers would like to base their decisions on facts, yeah, and understandably so. So rather than gut feeling or belief, so they often want to have that data to be able to make those informed decisions. But in reality, often is the case that they lack that insight and transparency because they need to make those well-formed data-driven decisions, but they just don't have it, yeah? So what can we do about it? So as a result of these challenges, well, to reduce the complexity, to accelerate the delivery, some CIOs decide to go the way of least resistance, yeah? What's the easiest way to do things? So sometimes they move from an old ECC system to an S4 system, and maybe you're doing that as well. But actually, sometimes it's done without considering truly the business and IT side of the house. So I guess as a good business or IT leader, what you really want to do is not fall into that trap of just doing something without having that information up front, but at least do it having fully investigated and realized the possible business benefits that could be realized through business change. So some of the things as a good leader and going ahead on a change, what you really want to do is you want to focus on business processes. And you want to understand firstly how your current processes work. I often think of this as the sort of foundation stage. Highlight the areas that work really well. What do you want to keep doing in the future? Maybe identify the areas where your operations are too manual, too complex, and that can be streamlined or automated. Then, once you've understood, it's about designing your future processes, reusing what works well already now, so just keep those, but design new and automated, harmonized processes for the areas where you want to improve. But ideally not reinventing the wheel, but again, using best practice where available. And then once you've designed, it's then about implementing your new IT landscape and your new processes across the organization, but in a harmonized and collaborative way. So it's really about business and IT joined together. And also topics like enablement and training and empowerment are key here. And then once you've gone live, your task doesn't end. On the contrary, it's about the continuous performance monitoring and that optimization I was talking to and about before. So in short, I guess what people are always looking for is an approach that allows you to A, understand and assess where your current processes are based on your own data though. Accelerate the path of continuous and sustainable value creation by integrating automation in a measurable way, but utilizing pre-built content, and reduce the time to deploy, yeah? And de-risk your project by implementing maybe customizations in S4 only where necessary and using SAP standard where meaningful and possible. So here's the good news. Yeah, with SAP Signavio, we've got you covered. So today it's all about introducing you to the new plug and gain approach of SAP Signavio. So what you can do with plug and gain is you can speed up your ERP transformation project. So one of the things you can do is you can reduce the efforts in the project preparation phase. And you can literally go from months and quarters to maybe days and weeks. Yeah, it's a drastic acceleration. So it's used to transform your transformation approach and it really helps your organization to prepare faster. And then we'll come on to the deploy faster after we've looked at the preparation and then that realizing that continuous value. But all of this is based, really key here for today, it's about the data-driven way in which we're doing it. So it's a game changer, I guess, in comparison to how you might have planned and approached your transformation so far. So let's get started. Let's take a little short step back. To keep things really simple today for this webinar is, let's assume every transformation journey goes through 3 phases: preparation, deployment, and the running phase. And plug and gain is going to help you to reduce that complexity and those risks and save your costs and accelerate things in all 3 of the phases. And first, I'm going to look at the preparation phase. So how does plug and gain work in the preparation phase? Well, the only thing you need is your existing SAP ERP data and of course SAP Signavio. So with Plug and Gain, what you do is you leverage your SAP ERP data and you make it available, visible, and usable in the business process context, but out of the box by just connecting your SAP ERP to SAP Signavio. And as soon as you've established that connection, we're basically helping you to find your starting point. We show you how to get super fast direct insights out of the box for dozens of processes that run through your ERP system. And literally, we've got thousands of KPIs and metrics, yeah? You can uncover, helps you uncover where you stand within hours. You get a lot of information about your business processes, like the process performance indicators or the process flows of how your processes are flowing through your system. And we even provide you the context on things like value drivers that are behind your processes. And we can identify the most frequent blockers. And then we've got benchmarks that allow you to show your performance status against, your peers. Are you behind, or maybe are you ahead within certain process areas? And then it even goes one step further. We've even got the recommendations that show you tailored to your current business execution. Once you've seen where the blockers and things are, what could you then potentially improve? Might be something, for example, leveraging some new SAP S/4HANA capability. Maybe there's some area where you can automate one of your process areas. So all of this information helps you basically to prepare your transformation by getting those direct insights that show you the biggest areas of improvement potential within hours. And I've got to emphasize that setting up that connection between SAP ERP and SAP Signavio and having that insight based on your own real data, and I keep stressing it's your data, into process performance is available in hours, maybe days, but it's not a weeks or months situation. So once you've got that, what's it do? Well, it helps you decide on things like which business processes to keep, maybe which ones to change. How could you fix a broken process today? How could you transform your processes in the context of an S4 project? And because you've got all of that data at your fingertips, and because you can share that with key stakeholders within your organization, and it's now timely data from your own ERP system, and it's not a sort of a questionnaires or Excel spreadsheets where you collected information weeks ago, you've basically got that level of trust now that's needed to drive a business process transformation with confidence. I'm just going to pick up on a couple of the areas I've just mentioned before within this quick ingestion of data and getting this insight. As I said, we offer industry level benchmarks to you. So obviously we're SAP, we've got a huge database of customers who share their process performance information with us, but we obviously anonymize and aggregate that input. But we then give you the possibility to benchmark yourselves against your industry peers. Not only that, we go a step further as well. Because we're SAP, we know, what best run best practices are. And that's why we provide you in the same application with recommendations that allow you to immediately understand how to fix urgent issues. How do you prioritize your actions? Which new functionalities could help you run your business better? And these recommendations are then specific to the identified business problems. So overall, with Plug and Gain, the approach, we offer you the perfect starting point to begin your transformation. But sometimes you need to go a little bit deeper, right, into your processes. You want to learn more about the individual processes of interest. Sometimes maybe it's not enough to know where your processes are performing, well or not so well, but you actually need to know, this is the critical word now, how they're performing in reality. How are they being executed? Very often, an SAP S/4HANA project is also a great trigger to harmonize and optimize processes across your company. So you want to know more which of your business units is performing well or not so well, and most importantly though, how are they doing it? So you might even want to define your own internal best practices based on your own performing business units and later roll that out to everyone. So although your process performance information is a really good starting point because it helps you prioritize situations, but often more process intelligence is needed. And in order to know how your processes are running and being executed, this is where you need process mining to give you the process depth in addition to the performance which we've just mentioned. And that's what we do with the second step of Plug and Gain, which is then the disruptive part of the approach, maybe you could call it. With plug and gain, it's not a lengthy process mining project anymore, okay? It's not where you have to spend months teaching the system what the data really means. With this approach, it's all about a faster time to deep intelligence. So to run this, what you're doing is you're using the same exact data that we've just analyzed in a few hours on the broader level and populate it then into the process mining functions of SAP Signavio. What's the benefit of that? Well, it means you don't need an additional data extraction or data management for this plug and gain approach. Then this analysis, it runs on a complete set of mining functions, right? You get things like process invariant analysis as well as predefined dashboards. You can then make use of the predefined execution investigations that you can use to dig deeper to understand how your current processes are running. And then in that context, you may have heard that process mining takes months, but obviously it's not the case with plug and gain. Running process mining with this approach really does lower the barrier to analyze process variance and makes long-lasting, cost-intensive mining projects for all the SAP ERP processes covered by plug and gain obsolete. Look, at the bottom of the screen, I think you can also see there's a unique capability, a little bit of a favorite of mine called the best run score. So what's the best run score? Well, there are many different ways of executing a process, as you all know. And then in this particular example here, we go from creating an invoice via the posting of the invoice to then clearing the accounts receivable once your customer has paid you. Now, we're SAP, so we know the best way to execute a process. So what's the best execution path? And that's through the different process steps when you move through an SAP ERP system. So what we ultimately do with the best run score is we compare your actual process execution against the best possible process execution. And we calculate a score on that. For example, if you followed this best possible path, say in 80% of the cases, your best run score will be 80%. So just a quick reminder though, it's not about the happy path. It's not the one where you most frequently go through it in your system, but it's what's the best possible path and how you conform to that. And that obviously then helps you make lots of decisions about other areas maybe you want to change, move towards standard, or maybe there are areas you think you're already doing well. So when you combine the performance data we spoke about before with the benchmarking data and the information I've just mentioned about the depth of your process data as well, you've basically now got yourself an ideal starting point to really truly structure, prioritize and plan and redesign accordingly. Now, of course, after this analysis phase, your journey continues and we help you along the way. Now, what you just saw for the last piece is also available out of the box for 5 key process areas and a broader set of sub-processes. So we've got here invoice to cash, order to fill, operate to maintain, procure to receipt, invoice to pay, as you can see on the screen. So to be clear, with plug and gain, we analyze all of the process areas at once based on that original data coming from your ERP system. So ultimately, we give you that great data-driven foundation where you can then make decisions and which matter most to you and where you have the biggest potential for improvement. So now you know what your current processes look like, you know how they perform, you've understood the shortcomings, the inefficiencies, and the value potential of that improvement. What comes next? Well, once you have understood, it's about designing the future. How do you want to work in the future? And here as well, we've got you covered and provide you a fast time to process model design. And so how do we do that? Well, first, reverse engineering. Traditionally, in order to model your as-is processes, you'd have to conduct lots of interviews and paint the walls with sticky notes and papers. And I remember those well. I've been in lots of those types of sessions myself. But with Signavio, it's different because what we're doing here with the plug and gain approach is we're using that existing data out of your ERP system to reverse engineer your process execution into those process models. So that allows you to have your as-is process repository based on data out of your ERP system instead of gut feelings and interviews, which might be outdated already. Secondly, we've got a huge library of business process templates and best practices. Often you don't want to reinvent the wheel, but you take the best you can find in the market, right? So SAP Signavio offers you a library with literally hundreds of business process templates and best practices which you can draw upon. And then lastly, you need to discuss the future process models with your business, with the people on the ground who know the best and local requirements and make them fit to the local needs. And that discussion needs to happen in order to achieve the best fit and increase the buy-in from your colleagues in the new business. So whether this is true if you're starting from internal practices or going from best practices. So as the SAP Process Transformation Suite, what it does is it helps you to align and orchestrates that collaboration. Basically, it allows you to easily model and design in a collaborative way through the tool itself. And it provides a single source of process truth, so greatly enhancing that area of your project too. Here's a bit where I'm going to use the word cool. There's a bit which is really about the icing on the cake, and it's called business impact simulation. SAP Signavio provides you with the possibility to simulate the business impact of your future state processes so that you know what are the potential benefits you're going to expect if you make a change to the new process, in terms of cost savings or cycle time. So this is really quite smart because you can now compare your current process execution with your future process execution, but before you've actually implemented anything, to see what those benefits could be. So with all of these data-driven insights, which I've been talking about, because it's data coming out of your systems, and the design and simulation capabilities you can do in the process modeling, you're basically having an educated discussion now between business and IT and documenting everything in one place. So in this way, you're defining the entire target model, laying the foundation for the digital, for your future digital transformation. So to summarize, that's how the prepare phase looks like as a whole with plug and gain. Super fast insights into lots of processes that run through your SAP ERP system. And we're talking, and I'm going to re-emphasize, hours or days, not weeks or months. Second, possibility to quickly and easily now, with the plug and gain approach, go deeper and understand your actual process execution. Again, making use of that same data in step one. The ability, thirdly, to model your as-is processes, starting from, again, your real data, and to model your to-be, starting from either your own internal best practices or SAP's best practices. And fourth, the ability to simulate that impact of process changes before you implement the change. And all of this is then enriched with an unparalleled amount of process content coming from SAP Process Know-how. So we know exactly how best practices look. We've got the best practice KPIs, we know how they look, and we then wrap it all with governance and collaboration components to help you ultimately de-risk your project so that everything runs smooth and quick. So that's how it helps within the preparation phase, but the journey doesn't end here. So let's now move on to the second phase. The second phase is the deploy phase. Here it's about bringing together the world of business processes and the world of systems. Yeah, this is the starting point in essence for the implementation. And you're going to have a see why plug and gain and by SAP Signavio supports this phase as well. Because we all know that for an optimal deployment, the actual project itself, you've got to bring together the IT and the business and discuss and collaborate on what that future model is going to look like. Because then the IT business, the IT colleagues are going to then implement most of this. But I think you yourselves will know, like I, that many transformations, it isn't uncommon to see things like a PowerPoint or a Word document created by the business, then passed over the fence to IT to implement and set up the systems accordingly. And that often results in many misunderstandings because things are lost along the way, and hence they're still open and need further clarification. So ultimately, what can plug and gain do here for us? Well, firstly, number one, using the collaboration capabilities within the SAP Signavio solution itself, it allows business and IT users to have access to the central modeling capability within Signavio. So everyone concerned can see what's being designed, and it's ultimately breaking down the silos between the teams and allowing them to work more closely and efficiently together. So it's bringing business and IT together. Secondly, we provide integration to the wider tool chain. For example, we offer the ability to make available the processes designed in SAP Signavio to SAP Solution Manager, or Cloud LM, where they can then be used as input into the scope of the IT implementation. So without needing to recreate manually again in Solution Manager itself. And thirdly, let's not forget, the automation and adoption, which are key elements as well. So the former we can support through the use of SAP Build, whilst the latter is a key part of any transformation, it's the ability to link training materials to processes, having that direct link, therefore closing the gap between what's been designed and that really key part, which is adoption. So all of this helps to transform the newly designed processes into the real value and align them with IT and system reality. So it drastically shortens implementation time, helps you deploy faster. And now what I'd like to do is jump into the next phase, which is the third one, which is the last phase of a project, which generally actually isn't the project anymore. It's now the run phase. And the beginning of the run phase is now where you've actually implemented. So you've already gone live with your new process designs, but where now you can start to continuously apply process excellence. That's where we've got this infinite loop from SAP Signavio, and infinite being the operative word. So you start over again, you look to improve the way you operate as a business. For example, you might continuously monitor and measure the new processes that have been enabled during the deploy phase and now live. And as I said at the start of the presentation, why would you do that? Well, the world doesn't stop changing. It may be that you've got things like non-conformance, or you've found some new inefficiencies, or it might be that you've got some new capabilities which have been made available within your S/4HANA system, which you'd like to take advantage of. So the project doesn't stop or SAP Signavio doesn't stop helping you beyond, at the end of the project. It's there to support you after the project too. So fast time to insight, fast time to adapt, and ensuring that you establish process excellence as an ongoing discipline. Now, conscious of the time, what I'd like to do is have a look at, that's the the plug and gain approach in a nutshell, but I kind of also want to bring things to life and just spend a few minutes to show some of those concepts using a few of the screenshots from the system to help cement some of the points I've made before. So as I said earlier, you can connect your SAP ERP system to SAP Signavio. As soon as the connection's established, the data is available, and it's not complex. I mean, we've had customer literally who's done it in 15 minutes. Yeah, exactly, that's 15 minutes. But it's certainly something which can be achieved in a few hours. It's not a very lengthy process. So this is available. It's also important for me to say for both SAP ECC systems and SAP S/4HANA. What you get is dozens of the process flows, hundreds of the performance indicators, blockers, as I was mentioning before, and all of those recommendations on how to fix and improve processes. So that's the performance element. But then let's go deeper. Let's look at an example now of process intelligence, where we're actually going into the process mining side. To illustrate the point, I'm going to use the cash collection process here, where we go from create the invoice, as we said before, post an invoice, and then close the open accounts receivables once your customer's paid you. For every step, there are many different ways to perform them. You could, for example, do things like enter it manually using VFO1, maybe manually via manual due processing, or maybe there's a Z transaction you built in the past. So lots of different ways to enter it. But obviously, we built the software, we look for the best path through, and actually often automation can be one of those best paths. So what we do is we show you in green the best possible ways, which are the automation ways. Now, this is the view for the entire company, which you can see on the screen at the moment. And of course, you can drill down, and you could, for example, go into maybe just one company code. So if we're looking at this at a company level, now we're going to go down to, now check on the best run scores, keep an eye on those as they change, because now we see the execution path for just one particular company code, one business unit in your organization. So the best run score is recalculated accordingly. And you can actually see here, they're fully compliant when it comes to invoice posting, but they're completely off track in the areas of invoice creation and FI and AR clearing. So let me just pause here for a second. Some of you might be thinking, well, this is classical mining, so it's been around for a time. What's revolutionary? Well, again, I'm going to reiterate. One is speed. So with SAP Signavio, with the plug and gain approach, this isn't a process mining project where it takes weeks to produce a visualization like this one. You get this insights quickly, and not only for one process, but for a number of processes. So speed. Number two, we've got having the experience of SAP and what's the best possible way to run a process. We've got the ability to do the comparison for best possible against your actual real process execution in your company. I don't think anyone else in the market can do that, and that's where it's new and super fast. And the third one, spoiler alert, is the one where we can help you easily create your own process models off the back of this same data and this analysis. So you now quickly going through this, you might identify your best practices. You've maybe picked 1 or 2 business units that are working particularly good, and maybe you want to use those as your internal standard. So what you can now do is you can create future business process models directly out of process mining flows. So looking at the screen here, you can see we've actually got a process execution path, our first variant, where it's executed 549 times. You can see that on the right-hand side. As you see, the variant's fully conformant to the recommendation of SAP. We can see the frequency is superposed to the best practice. You can see those green steps. Now, maybe you take your second variant, the one produced 183 times, and it's got a few exceptions, but maybe you decide, actually, we want that process as well. We want the one because those exceptions are justified for the business. So what you do is we can bring all of those together into one process model, which we now want to decide and say, we want to create that as our process model going forward. So within Signavio, what you can do is you just literally press a button. In this case, it's the Generate BPM N button at the top right corner of the screen. What that allows you to do is, it's like almost magically, you've got your business process model now, which represents the process variants that you've declared as your own internal best practice, the standard and the allowed exceptions. So you can now use this as the basis for blueprints or visualize to your employees. So again, think of what we've just done. We've gone through all of that data from an analysis, from quick performance analysis to deep insights to speedy process model creation. So just to sort of conclude here, Plug and Gain is giving you, we've gone through a number of the capabilities which the SAP Signavio Process Transformation Suite provides. We've touched on the collaboration hub for that collaboration across departments. We've touched on analysis and mining, looking at both the process performance insights, those, and going all the way through to the deep intelligence, which has been made significantly faster with Plug and Gain. And we've gone into the modeling, where we've had things like the simulation capabilities. And then what you can hopefully see from all of this is that it's a true, SAP Signavio is a truly comprehensive process transformation suite that really has got you covered for your business transformation fast and at scale. And to close, Plug and Gain approach, hopefully what you've seen today, along with the SAP Signavio Process Transformation Suite, can really help you transform and accelerate your transformation. So fast insight, fast time to adapt, ensuring that you've got that process excellence as a discipline beyond the end of the project as well. So hopefully what we've been doing really is we're helping lots of our businesses and customers we talk to, they're moving away from sort of more outdated, old-fashioned and manual ways of tracking process, or tackling, should I say, process transformation, to drive this truly digital and holistic transformation. So ultimately, SAP Signavio, with that, you become a process run company. Hopefully you've seen lots of value from what I've shown you today. Thank you for listening. I hope it's provided food for thought. I know that was a quick walk through, but in a relatively short time. But as always, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Joe for further information. It's been an absolute honor today, and I'm delighted to have been able to present to you. And I'd love to for you to reach out and continue that conversation. And with that, I'm going to pass back to you, Joe.
It's a wrap. Thank you so much, Cliff. It's every time I enjoy listening to you, and you mentioned it quite well when you said, okay, process excellence as a discipline, or operational excellence as a discipline. And indeed, all these technologies, great at the one hand, on the other hand, you need the people still operating in it. And what I love about Signavio is it puts people in the middle, and it kind of gets like a process-centric mindset. It's like a mindset shift away from static process models that are archived somewhere in the box, all the way to smart processes that are interconnected, working together, interconnected with the data and the systems, etc. So every time exciting listening to your story. And by the way, indeed, it's a very ambitious schedule here. Like, we spent 30 minutes on Plug and Gain. Feel free to book your appointment. I'm happy to provide you an end-to-end demo in a live system. We can also talk about customer reference cases, as we performed already various cases for various industries. And I'm happy to show my screen again. because I promised you on how to get started with Signavio, and for that just want to emphasize as well the practice that we have at Westernacher. So we launched Signavio practice 3 years. Yeah, it's been 3 years right after the acquisition SAP Signavio. Since then, we yielded tremendous success. We started locally in the DACH area, Westernacher, a German-based company, but we're also operating now in the UK, in the Nordics, even in the US, with a value proposition that covers the entire SAP Signavio transformation suite. So from analysis, mining, modeling, all the way to governance collaboration. With that, Westernacher was launched in the summer of '69. We have a lot of, I call them process dinosaurs. They are in our company longer than my age. I'm 32, but they're in the company more than 32 years. Hence, they bring a lot of process knowledge. So on the one hand, we have those insights we get from the system. On the other hand, we have our process experts really, providing their opinion for finance, for sales, all the way to supply chain. With that, we have a pretty decent end-to-end coverage. So from typical sales processes, order to cash, to finance processes, record to report, all the way to plan to fulfill. Our core competency so far is really in the S/4HANA transformation space. So if you're on ECC, all the way to S/4HANA, and if you're on S/4HANA, to really focus on the run. According to us, the fun starts once you have all the tech in place, and then we can leverage and take your people by the hand and really drive actions, really drive those KPIs from red, yellow to green. And short teaser for the outlook to come, we also plan to interconnect with our other practices, SAP Analytics Cloud, EWM, Ariba, IBP, which is coming Q2 this year, and also some custom process mining activities in case you want to leverage other source system other than SAP. To get you up and running, we have so-called starter packs available in different t-shirt sizes, so S, M, L for the various SAP Signavio solutions. And here, we would offer you something according to your needs. So best case, we sit down, we demonstrate you according to your requirements, and then we discuss which starter pack suits you the best. And if you are around London or in the UK, I strongly invite you to join us on March 20th. So meet Cliff, myself, and all the other colleagues from SAP Signavio UK and Westernacher UK on March 20th at the Scalpel, London. Nice food, nice drinks, good people. We also bring some customers, and we have like a panel discussion, massive network, and experience exchange opportunity for you. Feel free to scan this QR code. And lastly, also good news on the book side. As some of you might know, I released the first book on Signavio together with SAP Signavio colleagues. Last year, it was available in German. It will be soon also available in English. So that's a short teaser. And with that, a huge thank you to all of you. A special thanks to Cliff, and have a great day. One last thing, it was the questions. We have 1 minute left, so I invite everyone who has still some time to stay. For the rest, thank you so much for joining. Again, this whole thing will be published later on. It was a pleasure for myself, and now let's dedicate some time on the Q&As. Thank you so much. So I already get a question. So it was on best practices. Where can I find those SAP Signavio best practices? Okay. Cliff, do you want, or shall I?
Yeah, sure. So within SAP Signavio, we have on the wheel, which I showed earlier, something called the Process Explorer. So actually embedded within Signavio, you have access to those, but it's through the Process Explorer.
I would even add the Process Navigator, like this is, according to our experience, also a cool tool. If you type in Process Navigator, you find best practice flow for the various scope items. If you think of those 3 digits where you find your own LOBs, you know, finance, etc. So that's also a go-to tool. So Process Explorer, Process Navigator.
2 routes.
Second question was, yeah, perfect. The second question was on plug and gain as part of SAP Signavio. How can we use plug and gain as part of SAP Activate? Okay, right. So Activate, it's a classical SAP project methodology, right? You start with discover, prepare, all the way to deploy and run. And there's actually a mapping I can provide to you after this call, where we illustrate for each sub-Activate project phase which SAP Signavio solution is supporting the relevant project phase. So most oftentimes we might start with process insights to, you know, generate the first insights, and then go to the modeling part, go to the mining part, all the way to deploy and run. So I provide you with this map, might be of your benefit. And then last question, we are using S/4HANA as a core ERP. How can we leverage Signavio best for operational excellence? Okay, so the core system is S/4HANA, not ECC anymore. So you already did a massive good job. So you're on S/4HANA, and yeah, as we mentioned throughout the session, now the fun actually can start. And I'm also happy to provide you on the demo on how you can now drive results. I think best is to really dive deeper now in the system. So my spontaneous first answer is check with your process insights on if all the capabilities of S/4HANA are already unleashed, because oftentimes it depends if you did a lift and shift, the brownfield, greenfield, etc. How much of the new functionality that is available in S/4HANA is already leveraged. So process insights, for instance, helps you to discover this one. And in this context, it also depends if you want to plug and gain really with a process intelligence solution to do process mining. For this, there are some awesome accelerators out there that speak to the S/4HANA system. You can set up the pipeline within days. So you can really benefit of both process insights, process intelligence, like Cliff Pennycate just demonstrated it. But again, happy to follow up. I have your email, and I'll show you in the system.
Good.
Cliff, you have something to add?
No, I think that was a very, I think you answered it very nicely. I was going to say, I think the huge value is whether you are planning to move to S4, as I said right at the beginning, or you're actually already on it, which is the case for the person who asked that question. There is huge value with what we just showed. So think of it exactly as you said, Johannes. You've got some options. You can get a lot of value out of Signavio. So thanks very much for the question. Yeah, perfect. So then we are now 4 minutes over time. Again, the QR code for the London event. Thank you so much for tuning in. And see you soon, see you around. And always feel free to add Cliff and myself on LinkedIn. Stay connected. We're here to support you on your journey towards operational excellence with SAP Signavio. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.